Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Have you heard that? Yeah, probably a lot. Me too. But you know what? It's not quite stated right. It should really be breakfast is a meal. Yeah, that makes better sense. We've been so conditioned by the food industry to believe that we have to eat breakfast. If we don't, it's some kind of cardinal sin or something. I'm sure you or someone you know has admitted to missing breakfast like they broke the law. Now, breakfast is important, but when you eat it is far more important. The information in this video comes from the blog of Dr. Jason Fung at Intensive Dietary Management. And I encourage you to check out my other series for even more detailed information about weight gain, diabetes, and more. And I'm doing the Amazon gift card giveaway, which I will once more explain at the end of the video. Historically, the word breakfast means the meal that breaks your fast. It's pretty obvious when you say it out loud. Break fast. Originally, there was an Old English word, disner, that literally meant to break a fast, and was the first meal eaten in the day. It sounds a lot like another word, doesn't it? Yeah, around the mid-13th century, its meaning was shifted to the more familiar dinner. In the 15th century, the word breakfast came into being and was used to describe the meal that would break the overnight fast. Now, every culture around the world has a different idea about what breakfast is and what it means. In America, we usually eat a big breakfast, while in France, they have petit déjeuner or small lunch. Which of those two countries has a bigger obesity problem? The US, of course. It was rhetorical. So let's talk about the two big problems with the US breakfast and morning meals in general. The first problem with a lot of breakfasts, but most notably the American breakfast, is the food itself. In the United States, breakfast foods are little more than desserts. They contain huge amounts of refined carbohydrates and sugar. Breakfast cereals are some of the worst culprits here, and they're mostly targeted at children. On average, kids' cereals contain 40% more sugar than those marketed for adults. Almost all cereals for children contain sugar, and some of them are 50% sugar by weight. Only about 5% of cereals tested meet the standard for low sugar. So the top 4 sources of sugar for children are candy, ice cream, sugar-sweetened drinks, and cereal. See how cereal is lumped in with those dessert foods? Here's a good rule to follow. Don't eat cereal with sugar for breakfast. If you feel like you have to eat cereal for some reason, then try to find one that has 4 grams of sugar or less per serving. The problem is that most of the breakfast foods we eat are little more than desserts in disguise. Donuts, muffins, Danish, coffee cake, bagels. All of these contain highly refined carbs and are usually sweetened with jams or sugar. Yogurt is another breakfast staple, but the modern commercial yogurt has little to do with its traditional counterpart. A single serving of Yoplait yogurt has 27 grams of sugar. That's equivalent to 7 teaspoons of sugar in your morning single serving of yogurt. Okay, so what about oatmeal? Lots of people can't start their day without a bowl of oatmeal. Well, once again, the traditional oatmeal has given way to the modern commercial oatmeal. Whole and steel-cut oatmeal once needed hours of slow cooking to break down all of the fiber inherent within it. Nowadays, it's all about speed of cooking. So the oats have been highly processed and refined in order to allow for instant cooking in a microwave. Then if that wasn't enough, flavoring and sugars are added. So we've taken out the nutritional and protective qualities of a once wholesome food and added in processing with a side of sugar. Single servings of oatmeal or cream of wheat can have anywhere from 13 to 16 grams of sugar per serving. That's anywhere from 3 to 4 teaspoons of sugar per serving. And here we are again with the question of, well, what the hell can I eat for breakfast? The first and best advice for what to eat at any meal is whole, unprocessed foods. Period. Eggs are a great breakfast food. There's been a lot of negativity towards eggs, but unjustly so. They're highly versatile to cook and contain many vitamins, minerals, and protein. And if you're worried about the cholesterol, then don't believe the hype. No study has linked an increased risk of heart disease with egg consumption. If anything, the studies have found exactly the opposite. Face it, folks, when it comes to food and weight, it's always opposite day. And here's my best advice. If you don't have time for breakfast, skip it. If you aren't hungry in the morning, skip it. Meal timing is as important, if not more important, than what we actually eat. So with that in mind, meal timing, let's talk about snacking and meal times in general. If you're in your 40s like me or older, then you've probably heard something along the lines of, don't eat when you get home from school because you'll ruin your dinner. We just didn't snack back then. If you look back historically before the 1970s, and certainly before the turn of the century, 21st century that is, people generally ate 3 meals per day with no snacks in between. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. But if we look at a 2015 study using a smartphone app that tracked people's eating habits, we see a very different trend. Only 10% of the people in this study ate 3 meals per day, 3.3 meals on average. That means 90% of the subjects ate more often than that, more than 3 meals per day. Of those people, the 10% who ate the most were eating 10 meals per day. Of all the subjects, the average time they spent eating was a whopping 14.75 hours. That means that people were basically eating from the moment they got up until the moment they went to sleep. Pretty different than when I grew up. Breakfast at 7 a.m., lunch at noon, dinner at 7 p.m. Done. The reason this is relevant is that our obesity epidemic coincides with not only a change in what we eat, meaning less fat and more refined carbohydrates, well, more refined and processed foods in general, but the rise in obesity also coincides with us being instructed to eat more often. In fact, in the previous smartphone app study, when the individuals who were eating 14 plus hours per day were asked to bring that down to, say, 10 or 11 hours, can you guess what happened? Yeah, they lost weight. 7.2 pounds, 3.3 kilograms on average, just by eating less often. And that's all they changed. They weren't asked to change what they were eating, just how often. There was a study in 2018 that looked at a type of intermittent fasting known as ETRF, or early time restricted feeding. The idea of ETRF is to start eating at 8 a.m. and stop eating at 2 p.m., as opposed to a normal 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. style of eating. Now, it should be noted that all of the subjects in this study did both diets over an extended period of time. And the results were fairly astounding. In the ETRF group, insulin levels dropped. Now, we already know that insulin is what causes obesity, and lowering insulin will allow us to lose weight. And additionally, even after this group stopped the ETRF, their insulin levels remained low, and insulin sensitivity remained high. What this means is that if you simply change when and how often you eat, and coincide that with eating earlier, then you can begin to lose weight and continue to keep it off. And if you're interested, the ETRF group also showed lower insulin levels after meals, lower blood pressure, and higher beta cell function, which might be of interest to type 2 diabetics. But I can hear it now. Dear God, I have to eat dinner at 2 p.m. and then not eat until the next day? I'll be starving. Well, actually, the results showed that this early time-restricted feeding group actually had less hunger in the evenings and had less ability to actually eat in the evening as well. This all has to do with circadian rhythms and how hormones control body functions such as hunger and weight gain. I have a more in-depth video on that if you'd like to watch it. Now bear in mind that ETRF, like any fasting regimen, has a breaking in period. It takes time for your body to become accustomed to these restricted eating times. For some people, it's as short as a week. For others, it's as long as a month. Additionally, eating dinner at 2 p.m. and stopping is psychologically difficult for many people, especially in our society today where dinner is a social event based on the typical workday. But the benefits are enormous. So rather than focus so closely on what we should be eating, because let's be real here, what experts tell us is healthy and unhealthy seems to change like the seasons. So if we could be less concerned about what we're putting in our mouths and more concerned with when we're doing it, perhaps some of us who are burned out on the latest diet fad and watching it fail like so many others might feel new life and excitement over the prospect of actually losing weight and just once keeping it off. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you like the video, please hit the thumbs up button, as that does help me with exposure. And as for the giveaway, every 2,500 new subscribers, I'll be giving away a $25 Amazon gift card. The next milestone is 12,500, where I'll give away 1 gift card. At 15,000, I'll give away 2. 17,500, I'll give away 3. And at 20,000, I'll give away 4. Then we'll start over again. To enter, all you need to do is subscribe to the channel and leave a like and comment on this video. It's that simple. In the next video, we'll discuss the hot topic of the times, carbohydrates. So be sure alerts are enabled so you don't miss it when it posts. As always, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, keep being a loser.